Hello hero, it's Lucy Lanard. What a grotty little energy that was that I just recorded. I'm doing a few readings in one day today, partly because I've been delayed somewhat, which will be made clear if you are a subscriber and watch all of my readings, and partly because it's just easier to batch things when I've had a patch away from Utopia because of some disability stuff. So if you didn't see that update, please do make sure you've hit the bell if you are subscribed, just because some days there are like 2-3 readings going up at once, some days there's nothing, just because I'm managing some health stuff at the moment. But I just did an upcoming reading, subscribe if you want it, that was about secrets revealed and a kind of triangulation situation. And I am still, like, I've done my cleansing, I'm burning my incense, you may even see smoke in front of the camera. But I am still kind of recovering from that energy. So as opposed to talking about it any more than we have, I thought what I might do is use my Manara, which is one of my favourite decks, and a bit sort of fruity, spicy imagery in it that is highly enjoyable to cover for YouTube, and do like a friendship reading, but like wholesome vibes only, because that, I mean, if you're in a tricky situation, particularly with a friend, do wait for that one upcoming, but I'm not going to put it out just yet because I feel like this is the immediate energy we want to step into, right? So, entirely wholesome friendship reading. Only good meanings, universe. Only happy places. Only happy campers. I'm hearing the theme, the Skippy the bush kangaroo. Why am I hearing that? Actually, I know why I'm hearing that. That's because one of my more wholesome friends that I love and adore and have done since we were 12, hi Duff if you ever stumble on this, when we were kids he used to look like the kid from that Skippy thing, or the kid from like Lassie or something, and I took the piss out of him for it when we were bonding once over music and stuff. So he makes me think of wholesome friendship vibes because he's just always been there and he's wonderful. And that might be why on a subconscious level, but also some of you may be Australian or from around that part of the world, or something about visiting kangaroos with your friends at the zoo, or indeed because it's related to Duff, this might be to do with like bonding over music, particularly if you've gone away together with like, it might be a school friend and you bonded at school over that sort of stuff. I don't know, why am I hearing Skippy? I'll put it in the comment, in the description, because it's hilarious, but it's just a little bit random. Okay, we're beginning with an Ace of Wands, and I'm going to cover these tartars and show you the card. Actually, it's a stupid way to cover that. Let's do it that way instead. Okay, so I'm getting a vibe of eating already. What does this Ace of Wands mean in terms of your friendships? Okay, so this is like you and a bestie. One of you is super creative, one of you is much more grounded, practical. This could also be a relationship, by the way, so take it as it resonates, but I'm intended in friendship reading. It's just that this has made me think of a couple that I know, because they are same sex or same gender, although it doesn't have to be that way. Take any gender that you see fit, you know, mold it as you want, because this is a general reading for a large audience, hopefully. So, you know, take what's for you, leave the rest for someone else, is what I want to say. But yeah, they remind me of a same-sex couple that I know, but there is a thing here where, if not the same gender, you guys are on the same vibe, and one of you is like, I almost want to say like a bit type A, but in a really useful, lovely way. Very sort of strong Capricorn type energy. And the other one of you is very like bolshy, creative, interesting. There's almost like an Aquarian dynamic in the way that they present. And you make like a dream team, because the sort of outgoing, like quote unquote quirky one is the perfect complement to the not as outgoing but super organized one. It's like one of you is almost like a really cardinal energy, so like could have strong Aries, Libra, Cancer or Capricorn, and the other one is much more kind of fixed and steady, and like the bossy one expresses what the more practical one wouldn't dare to, in a way that makes them laugh. But then the more practical one sort of sorts out how they're going to do stuff, or where they're going to meet, or like how they get ahead in life in a weird way, like in a way that there's more sort of extroverted one possibly is too busy being a space cadet to sort of notice. And I say that in the nicest possible way, knowing that in this dynamic I would absolutely be the space cadet. Okay, so what are we saying about these two lovelies? So we have a 5 of Pentacles and an 8 of Swords. Let's just cover that. That's the 5 of Pentacles. And the 8 of Swords doesn't need to be covered, wicked. Okay. I said wholesome vibes only, guys. Oh, is this how you met? Oh, we're getting a meet cute. We're getting a non-romantic meet cute. Okay, so, again, take it as you see fit. But there is a story forming that, like, you guys met because one of you had, like, someone following you, or someone wanting your attention, or being, like, too obtrusive, or, like, messaging you loads, or there was just, like, some unwanted presence for one of you. It might even have been in a club setting where there was, like, some letchy guy that wouldn't leave you alone or something like that. And then the other one was, like, gazing at the floor, or gazing at an object, or, like, just, I feel like this is the sort of quirky one, or the kooky one, but they were kind of entranced by something. And again, I'm getting that if this was in a club setting, enhancements may have been involved, and that's why this person was, like, just fascinated with something on the wall, or their own hand, or something like that. But if it's not that vibe, or you're a bit younger, and that doesn't apply, this is just like there was a person who was lost in their own world, and then there was another person who was being pursued in some way that was unwanted, whether that's sexual or whether you're much younger, and it was just like, ugh, go away, I don't want to. But the person who was, like, gazing at something saw what was happening and immediately came to the aid of the other person and was like, you go away, blah, blah, blah. And that's how you became best friends straight away. Like, straight away. It could even, again, I'm getting, like, a club situation where it's that beautiful thing of, like, women's toilets, where it's the place that we go to exchange secrets, and it's a place that we all sort of meet, and you can go into the toilets, like, perfectly happy with the friendship group you came in with, but then spend 5 hours talking to a girl who was just doing her makeup or crying or something, and then you've made a new best friend by the time you come out and you're both drunk. It's that sort of lovely vibe of, like, I go in and I come out a new best friend, or I come out married to this person, or, you know. So there's also a vibe of, like, the person who was being pursued, or who didn't want to be in constant contact with someone else, or who was having, like, an annoying bit of an evening because of someone around them, maybe went into a toilet even to retreat from all of that, and then met this other person, and it was like, hey, you know, brothers from another mother, like, instant soulmate recognition, instant, like, hey, do I know you? Let's hang out. You're amazing. So yeah, that's where the wholesome comes in, and actually it is quite nice. Why have I got a 5 of Pentacles and then... Oh, okay. So the 5 of Pentacles speaks to the fact that this person who was, like, staring at something, or, like, off in their own world, it was because, like, other people around them had left them. Whether that was, like, intentional because they were out of it, like, on whatever, or on one, and other people had just kind of sneakily excused themselves, and they didn't realise at this point that they were on their own, and then they looked up like, oh, where's everyone gone? Or whether it's that they felt cast out in some way, and that's why they were honed in on something. That's, like, the circumstance that they were in. And then in terms of this other one being the 8 of Swords, it was a feeling of a mental trap around this pursuit. So it was, like, the sort of thing of, if I turn this guy down, I'm going to feel ways about myself, or about the ways I come across. Or if I say no to this friendship group that are being kind of a bother, I'm going to feel trapped by the way that I said no, or something. So there's just, like, a flight from it, with this imagery of, like, the woman running away from the dude. and birds scattering as well. So it's like events are kind of, thoughts and events are kind of scattering here and there, and they're like, I don't know how to handle this. So then they kind of run away and they meet, I want to say you, but they meet this quirky person. Just for clarification, really, that bit. Okay, what else? What about what are we learning with Seven of Wands with this card that I always find difficult to illustrate? Yeah, I'm going to have to cover his head as well. Know that under my finger is a man receiving the most medical attention that any man has ever received at once. And being quite overwhelmed by it, I dare say. But yeah, so Seven of Wands, along with, and that's fallen on the floor now, along with the King of Wands, with this guy with a weapon, or with speech, I want to say. Oh, okay. So one of you had to then, or has to, make a speech or get a point across or something like that because of the knife imagery, and that means swords. One of you has like something to present or something to say that's a bit tricky or something like that. The other one either saved the day on this or will save the day on this, of like getting that person's confidence up or like convincing them that there's a really easy way to handle this. This might even play into the meet cute of how you met, of like, listen, the way that you deal with somebody following you around like that is this, this, and this. And then the other person goes, oh my God, that's so simple. I never thought of doing that. This reminded me actually of, I'm going to tell this because you won't mind, but my own bestie, way back, I want to say like, I'm going to age myself here, but I want to say about 18 years ago. We were students together and we were in a toilet, and there was a girl that was like stalking her or being iffy with her, and being like too much in that sort of slightly predatory way. And she was there and I was there, and I'm a tarot reader, but I'm also a witch and I can do various things. And they're not really things that come out as party tricks so much as like, if they are useful in the spiritual sense, I'll have a bit of a better ability with something than I normally do. And I'd been practicing certain things, but not using them because it wasn't the time to use them or because my ego was too involved. But what happened was that this girl that was leching over my friend and getting really too close lit a match to light her cigarette whilst kind of enclosing this person into space. And I said, don't do that, and made direct eye contact, put my arm around the friend, and the match went out because I intended to spook her basically. So I went like, I'm normally fairly happy-go-lucky, don't know whether you get that from the channel, and my friend is very happy-go-lucky and that's why we get on, but I entered in, made sure I brought storm clouds with me, kind of walked straight up to this girl and was like, don't fuck about, or something to that effect, like, leave her alone, be gone from here. Gave her the full Wednesday Addams eye contact, and then boom, the match went out. I think she struggled to light another one, if my memory serves, but then she very quickly sort of backed off and was like, all right, I'm going. And never knocked on her door again, or never darkened her door again, that's the saying. And it reminds me of that. It's that kind of a vibe of like, somebody comes in to defend the other one in a way that it's like, damn, I could have fixed that so much earlier if I had you. That was rad. Also, let's be best friends. I mean, we were best friends by this point, but it's still analogous. Then we've got a Two of Wands. I feel like when you guys are together, and again, like any gender, any background relationship, you could be a couple, you could be a same-sex friendship, a different sex friendship. But when you guys are out and about together, there's like a sense that people are looking at you traveling in slow-mo. It reminds me of the bit in Ginger Snaps where Ginger Fitzgerald is like partially wolfing out, but she's not yet fully transforming. And she does that wonderful strut down the corridor to, oh, who is it? Some decent band anyway. It might be Junkie XL or something, but yeah, she does this strut that's like in a slow-mo, and I mean, it's Catherine Isabel, so who wouldn't? But, you know, her hair's blowing back and she's in this fantastic outfit. I think it was later emulated in the slow-mo bit from Jennifer's Body, and that's not shade, that's to say that that was an intentional nod, because they're both great films. But it's that sort of feeling of like when you guys are walking through the halls, it's like, we're not going to mess with them, but also, damn. There's a sense of people looking at you when you're together and just being like, well, they're a force to be reckoned with, aren't they? And if you are a couple or anything, this may be that, like, there's at least one onlooker in your life who would definitely have both of you if they could, right? There's at least one person who's like, well, you're super hot and you're super hot and you're both a power couple and I don't know what to do with my feelings. And that's not to say in a creepy way, it's just to say, like, you guys are, yeah, it's power couple vibes. Even if you're not a couple, even if you're platonic friends, it's like you're both the empress or you're both the emperor, or you are the king and queen of your particular sphere, realm, group, you know, quest for some of you. Like my tabletop gang, it's like you guys are what people tune in for. And I'm not going to say anything more than that. Okay, so then we got a King of Water in reverse, which I can show. It's this guy again. What's funny to me is that I've shuffled this Manara several times since we had the last reading, but a lot of the things from the last Manara are coming through. So you may have been in that one as well. Anyway, so we've got a King of Cups in reverse. Then, gonna have to cover this one. We've got a Temperance in reverse, which in the upright looks like this person. Pink light again. Come on. This person on a swing, which we will. There we go. Person on a swing with their head kind of veiled, but again this way. One of you is like, take it as it resonates. Don't come for me. One of you has recently left a relationship or has backed out of a marriage or decided that marriage as a concept is not for them, which is why this person is very liberated and very naked, but in a veiled way and on what I want to see as a sex swing, because it's the Manara deck. So it's like moving away from a mode of traditionalism or conventionalism and into something which has more of a loosey-goosey understanding of relationships, or prioritizes the self over traditional notions of monogamy, traditionalism, nuclear family, etc., etc., etc. Possibly as a result of this friendship or connection, where, like, in thinking about it more, they've come to a more liberating understanding of self and they've stepped away from so. And now what I'm seeing in my head is Gina Davis in Thelma and Louise. I think it's Gina Davis's character, where she steps out of the abusive marriage because of her relationship with the Susan Sarandon character. And they kind of both leave their deadbeats behind and go off on this incredible journey. And then Two of Swords with this person looking at what looks like an Oscar. So films may be a crucial way that you guys bond. There may be something cinematic about this relationship. Or one of you just won an award. Why am I hearing Buffy Summers Class Protector? There's someone here that will resonate, but that's what I had in my head. I do readings with the Buffy Tarot on this channel, so if you're not subscribed and you fancy that, please do sub. There's something to do with that. And it's like a little umbrella that she gets, isn't it? With like little fairy lights on it, which makes me think of Totoro as well, so that could be a thing for you guys. I don't know. It's all coming through. I'm just here to relay it, right? And then we've got a Chariot of somebody riding a film canister, right? So again, with the cinematic references, bonding over TV, over film. Perhaps you guys are in film production, or you're like part of a production team, or both actresses or actors, or there's something to do with film. Maybe LA for some of you, like one of you came to LA and that's how you met. But there's something to do with that. And it's something about because this went from a Two of Swords to a Chariot. It's like being indecisive about what one should pursue, and then suddenly meeting this person. I'm seeing the two Sphinxes of the traditional Chariot and being like, oh, I know where we're going now, because we have two horses, not one, right? The Chariot has enough momentum now. So like almost as if in you guys coming together as besties or soulmates or whatever it is you are, probably both, at least one of you has been like, I fucking know what I'm doing with my life. That's just clicked into place. This is really lovely. It's like you're protectors for the other, but you're also, you mutually inspire each other. And then as like a team, you, as I say, you're both hot and you're both forced to be reckoned with. By the way, I'm not just saying this because it does boost my algorithm if you do, but if you think your friend would want to see this reading, send it to them, because I think it's just going to be a reading gassing up your friendship, if I'm honest. Okay, so we've got the Sun in reverse, covering a bit of booty, but to be fair, she could be wearing underwear that's just a bit skimpier. It's like that, and it's like that, and it's the Icarus myth. Daedalus and Icarus. Now, take me back, brain. It's one of my lesser known ones. There's a thing here about flying too close to the sun. So one of you, prior to the friendship, was in a situation of risky business. That could be in reference to this relationship that one of you has recently come away from or came away from as you guys became friends. But there's something about Daedalus here. Never mind Icarus. We all know the Icarus myth. Sorry if you don't know the Icarus myth. I'm not being patronising. Where I am in the UK, and certainly in my generation, we did these at school, which is why I'm saying everyone knows, but it may not be that you know. That's okay. I'm not being a prig. Something to do with... One of you could quite literally be an inventor or in engineering, or like one of you is in STEM and the other one is more creative, or like in film or something like that, or has experience in those realms for some of you. Because Daedalus is a very different vibe to Icarus, and Icarus again suggests this energy we got earlier of creative, impetuous, slightly impulsive, kooky, very expressive, versus someone who is technical, behind the scenes, problem solving, planning brain. I'm getting a little bit, this isn't to discriminate with those adjectives that I've just used, but for some of you this sort of Daedalus person is possibly on the spectrum and is more, thinks in a different way and therefore comes across in a less extrovert fashion than the other one, but actually you are very aligned in the way that you think and the way that you relate to other people or want to relate to other people. It's just that one of you has a very different communication style, possibly because of ADHD, autism, similar things like that, to the other one. And again, that's not to discriminate, and it's not to say that that's everyone's story, but it will just be confirmation for one of you watching that one of you is on the spectrum and one of you isn't. And if that's not true, it'll be that one of you is like in an inventive realm, but in a sort of technical way. It could even be that you're both in the creative arts, but one of you is like, for example, an actress and the other one is in effects or builds scenery or is in like the practical sort of like, it's like the difference between an actor and a stunt person or something like that. Do you see what I mean? Like one of you has very choreographed, systematic, goal-oriented movements through the world. The other one has very like flamboyant, expressive, heart-centered movements through the world. And that's not to say that any one of you is more or less effective. It's just that you have similar goals in very different realms. And again, you could have been part of the same professional team. For some of you, I'm getting you met on a film set or something, and this is like how it all came together. If that's true, hit me up in the comments because I'd love to know you. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. What else? What does Spirit want us to know about this connection, friendship, whatever? Now that we've got like how you met, who you are. Seven of Cups in reverse. That's a funny one. I'm not going to go into that until we get some clarification for it, but it looks like this. Don't ban me, YouTube. It's just a bum. It's not front bum. Some of you, your friendship, you may both like the front bottoms. That's something I'm hearing as well. And then let's just cover any smidge of funniness in that. But we've got a Knight of Swords as well. And again, all of these characters are female. So if it's not that you're both female identified, then I would think that you are both very much on the same wavelength. And that's what this is expressing. Seven of Cups with Knight of Swords. Is this in relation to one of you or the connection as a whole? Emperor. Ah, okay. Yeah, again, we've got a reiteration of this theme that one of you helps the other one to stay in control of their more impulsive side. And meanwhile, that more impulsive, expressive person helps the other person to tap into their emotions in an easier way, or to get into their passionate mode with that Aries Emperor link. I don't always take traditional correspondences with this, but I'm really feeling it. So the Seven of Cups and the Knight of Swords. I can't think of the word knight. Sorry guys, it's late here. This may be one of you that is... Sorry, I promise you that was my chair. My foot on my chair, more technically. One of you is in a mode of indecision, particularly socially. I feel like there's something to be said, and it's like you either don't know who to say it to, because there's a choice there, or there's like too many options of like how to say it, and you get overwhelmed linguistically. It might not be you, I'm saying you in a general sense. And the other one is very good at stepping in and saying, this is the cup you need to focus on. This is the part of your many dreams or your imaginative realm, or the many people that you could say this to, that you need to hone in on and be like, it's that bit. I'm gonna put blinkers on and focus on that bit, especially with the horse imagery. It's like one friend, in a nice way, puts the blinkers and the bridle on the other one, right? So it's like they're really overwhelmed and panicky about all these different aspects of stuff. And then this other person who's in their Emperor energy comes in and lowers the blinkers. And then it's like, oh, I can only see this cup, or I can only see this dream or this bit of imagination. I'm getting hiccupy confirmation stuff here. And it makes it easier then to interact. And I feel almost that like this is being told to me because if you're the Emperor friend, this is Spirit saying within this friendship, like, we don't need to tell you why you're friends. We don't even really need to tell you how you met. But we do need to tell you that your job, in a way, is to like steer this person into focusing on one thing at a time, or into communicating with one person specifically. Particularly if this person has been in a love pickle, I'm hearing. There's like a choice between people, and you can see much clearer than they can at the moment where to go with this. So your job is to be like, hey friend, let's focus our attention conversationally on this one thing, or let's act on this one dream. And I almost want to say, if that's the job of the Emperor person, because different people will be watching, what's the job of the more creative, the more energetic, the more possibly scattered person in this friendship? The Space Cadet that I identified as being. So we have a Priestess in reverse. With a, the Punishment, or I want to say the Hanged Man. Yeah, because it's the 12. Could be Justice. You know, I don't know this deck well enough to know, so I'm going to say Hanged Man, but the Punishment anyway, that's more relevant than what it is anyway. There's a theme forming here. It wasn't you, it was this one. Sorry, sometimes I get buzzing through my hand, so I have to put one back and go, no, it was this guy. With this one to clarify. So we have a Magician. I'm just going to cover this like robo appendage. And then 10 of Wands. Again, getting out of an abusive relationship might be really relevant here. And that was the 10 of, yeah, I said 10 of Wands. So if the Emperor person is here to put blinkers on the other person so that they can focus, my feeling is that the job of the person who needs those blinkers and who is a bit more kind of way here, there and everywhere with their energy is to liberate the Emperor person from a circumstance that could have been quite punitive, quite violent, possibly quite religiously oppressive, or oppressive in the sense of a staunch traditionalism, a conformity that separated this person from their intuitive self, with this nun figure being in reverse and it being the High Priestess. This makes me think that they possibly had a childhood with a religious upbringing that they need to stand back from, or a relationship that was very like, you will do this, you will be this way, or a tendency even in relationships to try and be something in a very specific way for the other person, where it's like it all has a lot of rules. The same person with the toilet and the match analogy earlier once said something to me about my own relationships where it was like, how did she put it? And it was one of the best things that, she's full of insights, but it was one of the best insights she's given me. And it was something about always playing to the rules that are set by the other person in whatever dynamic I'm in, and never sort of examining what my rule book is, or like the way she put it was, you always have a conversation with these people that you're involved in where they behave badly, then you have a conversation where they cry about it and they tell you their childhood trauma, and then you're like, oh, that's why they behave badly, so I'll just change my entire life to suit them, I'll change my entire behaviour to suit them. Really airing out my patterns here, but that was my thing for a while, at least a decade, right? And she saw it all happening and she was like, listen, you're doing this again, where someone tells you their emo story and you're like, oh, everything is forgiven and excused and fine because you've been through such a lot, and then you tailor your life to them. And it was just such a like wake up call for me. I didn't expect her to say it because we're not really like, that's not our dynamic. But when she did, it was like, damn, that just fixes so much in terms of who I'm looking for, what I value, what I like put my energy into, and how people can emotionally manipulate me, how I feel about myself to then cater to other people. It's like bam, 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 it all sort of clicked into place. And I was suddenly able to look for a new kind of partner. And actually, around the time that I did, and around the time she said this, I met my twin flame, so there you go. But there's something like that going on between you two, where one person is in some kind of pattern, and it may not even be in relationships, but the Seven of Cups person, the more, I don't want to say more creative, but the more expressive person, has a thing of catering to the people that they're around. I almost said that she's around, so for many of you this is a woman. And there's a punitive element to it with that punishment card in reverse that they are able now to step away from. With the Magician and it being an inventor person, I don't know whether they're the inventor that we talked about or whether it's the other person, but there is something about that spirit of invention and engineering and making stuff and being very technical about the work involved that is able to liberate this person from that previous pattern. So if you're the Emperor friend and you are like an engineer, or you're in that, you know, you identify with that bit, this is you demonstrating to them through your ingenuity, perhaps in the workplace, perhaps not, how ingenious they can be with their relationships in some way. And if it's not that, and they're this inventive person, their friendship with you is showing them how to invent a new pattern, how to create something that is outside of the ties of expectations of other people, religious upbringing, traditional values, punitive elements, emotional manipulations from others. You know, see my example of the emo people crying on me, telling me the story because they'd been abusive, right? Again and again. The other thing I'm getting from this Magician thing, I'm going to show and cover it again. Like this woman that's putting this appendage on this massive like lizard robot thing. The lizard robot thing says to me Godzilla, and something I joke about with my close friends in the patches where I am single and working on myself and working on these patterns is, if you ask me my ideal boyfriend, I say Godzilla. Hands down. And that's not because I'm in this like, I know there's like a thing in Japan where there's like a league of women who are in love with Godzilla and they have a name like that or something, and it's this whole thing. It's not that, nor am I attracted to lizards or, well, he's not a lizard, but you know, whatever he is. It's a joke that I make because Godzilla is very protective to the right species, right? Hi. Giant and buff, which I tend to like, in either gender because I am bi. Godzilla is very eco-friendly, you know, as something that comes about because of a massive environmental distortion and disruption. Godzilla is representative of us taking better care of our environment and indeed each other. He's anti-war, anti-military. These are things that I have in the past looked for, right? Same reasons. He lights up when he's excited, right? In the physical and the metaphorical sense. I wish that was something I could have. Indeed, one of my exes I still refer to as Glow Boy. You know, there's all these different things. He has a good scowl, which I always like. I seem to, particularly with my twin flame, I go for these kind of glowering types. I don't know why, but it's something, you know, having a good, what does he call it, entangled? A good smolder is something I tend to secretly go for. And my female type is like Michelle Rodriguez, so that follows. But you know, there's all these things about Godzilla where I'm like, oh, I can't come to the phone right now. I'm with my boyfriend Godzilla. And it's both like a failsafe of like, if anyone's interested, I'm taken, sorry. But it's also like a thing of, no, this is a reminder that these are the qualities that you actually look for. You want someone who is iconic in some way, who operates outside of the paradigm of everyone else, who is almost alien in the way that Godzilla is. You want someone who lights up when they're responded to in a certain way. You want someone who can defend, who can protect you because of your own background. You want someone who takes care of their physical body. You want somebody who you know, is environmentally switched on, is politically switched on, all these kinds of things. In terms of Godzilla's roar, you might want somebody who is very verbally expressive in a way that strikes fear into the hearts of anyone with ill intentions. All these things that you can extrapolate with Godzilla, not just because I love Godzilla movies, but because, like, by fictionalizing what I'm looking for, there's this thing of, like, it helps me to break the patterns of what I ended up with up until the point that that was the joke I made. And I feel that with you, if you are this person, the emperor person makes those kinds of jokes with you and brings out of you that thing of like, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't possibly date you, I'm with Godzilla, but in a way that is more healthy for the way that you date, or more healthy for your friendships or your schoolwork or whatever it is, right? They are able to make these examples with you of pop culture stuff that you get between each other, which is why all the film references and stuff about Buffy and all of that, but in a way that like actually lights up what you really mean. So it's not just that you guys have a dynamic of talking about things that you're interested in terms of what you've seen. It's that you're able, both of you, to do what I'm doing now in this reading and use that sort of language of characters to archetypally talk about ways to reposition yourself within your environment, and indeed to be safer and to be happier and to be more fulfilled. So there is something here about the liberation of this person, as I say, from the traditional or the religious or the broadly abusive in their patterning or in their childhood, on the part of this emperor friend. But there's also something about the way that you guys talk about the more light-hearted stuff actually helps you to work out this shit in a more serious way, without having to dive deep and feel like it's shadow work and feel like it's tricky to do. If all of that is confirmed, let me know in the comments like how it resonates, like what it is that you guys bond over, relate to, that you tend to use as examples of different patterns and stuff like that, because I haven't gone on about my Godzilla analogy in a way that I hope is useful. I would love to know like what your equivalency is in that. Because there's something here about you guys may only hang out in a very like, not surface, but it's like a way where you bond over the things that you enjoy, or in taking in media or something like that. But even then, the way that you're doing it actually taps into those deep undercurrents of stuff and brings stuff to light in a way that nobody else could quite do for you. And again, like, not to harp on about Godzilla, but isn't that Godzilla, right? It's a light-hearted thing. It's an archetype we now all identify with, like Frankenstein's monster. Like, you see Godzilla, you know what it is, right? No matter whether you've seen all the films. But then also, within cinema, it's very respected as an analogous thing to talk about the problems of nuclear warfare and biological poisoning and environmental poisons and even sort of like imposition upon other people's spaces and all sorts of stuff, right? So it's this deep well, and I mean, Godzilla -1 looks like it's going to tap into this, right? It's this deep psychological and political thing to draw into, but it's told in this surface shallow, you know, particularly in the 80s era, this like Power Rangers kind of a way. And I think that's you guys. I think your friendship is very like, haha, look at that thing, and let's bond over this naff looking stuff, or this like very sort of audio-visual input stuff where you veg out and you watch it together, or you play games or whatever it is. But the way that you do that is so remarkable, because you guys are relating to each other on a deep healing level, even as you're doing stuff that is an escape from healing work. So again, it's like gassing you both up. And I think this is more from the end of the Emperor person, but I don't think it's exclusive to that side. I think you both do this for each other, and I think in bonding creatively over these kinds of things, you kind of come together to heal each other, but without ever having to really approach the topic of healing. And one of you liberates the other without ever having to really say, you know, you need to leave him or whatever it is. In the same way that the other one helps to put more focus on the other person and say, this is the thing that we're concentrating on now, without ever having to be that upfront about it, right? It's just like a steering of conversation in a nice way, in a relaxed way. You guys may get high together because this is very chill. Don't take it if it doesn't resonate. Not all friendships are like that. None of mine are, but you know, for some of you that's true. So we've got the Hermit in reverse, which is a werewolf that way up. So again, it's this like, you guys help each other with your inner impulsivities, your kind of Jekyll Hyde mechanisms, without ever really, it's not combative. And again, it's interesting that I used the example of Jennifer's Body and Ginger Snaps earlier. And if you haven't seen those movies, go check them out, right? Because it's this, they are both modern Wolfman or Jekyll and Hyde retellings in a broad sense, you know, archetypally, that talk about a friendship or a sisterhood that has one person exploring their more volatile self in a way that is made healthier by the presence of another person. So think of Amanda Siegfried, is it? Her character in Jennifer's Body, sort of trying to bring the Megan Fox character back into like, but you're killing people. And then Megan Fox has that incredible line, I'm not killing people, I'm killing boys. That may be where you guys are at right now, and I think it's a wonderful line, but you know, no misinjury intended. Or it's the other thing of like the Fitzgerald sisters and Ginger kind of going off the rails, and her sister bringing her back into like, this is not who you are, you know, and even if you are wolfish now, even if, you know, by beginning menstruation, by coming into adulthood, you've gone into this wild territory where you end up literally killing people, you know, out by 16 or dead at the scene, together forever, we are sisters forever, we are together forever, right? I will always be at your side, so can you please return to self? And without spoiling that movie, you know, however you read the ending, I feel that return does happen in a way, right? It's it's like her sister brings her back into the sisterhood, even as she goes off and does all these crazy literal werewolf things. Oh God, it's such a good film. I love it. That was my era. I wish that it could be the same for everyone, because I grew up with sorry, total tangent, but I was never Twilight. Like, I laugh, I understand the Twilight memes and I think they're funny, but I grew up with Blade and the Lost Boys for vampires and Ginger Snaps for werewolves, and I wouldn't have it any other way, my dudes. So good, so good. Particularly Halloweeny. You know, if you're looking for horror films to watch, everything I just said. Okay, and then we've got the moon in the upright. Again, with this like burlesque figure, I feel that you guys are coveted by other people around you. You make each other more glamorous, or if you are not identified as someone who would want to be glamorous, you help each other to be more physically attractive, whether you're gym buddies, whether you're just like, you boost each other's moods so much that you take better care of yourselves. There's something going on there where, like, when you guys are around each other, you're just better in that way. With this being the moon as well, again, we've got a werewolf and we've got a lunar thing, right? So go watch those werewolf movies or those like Jekyll and Hyde retellings. I won't put it in the description, I'll give you the complete list here. The films I just mentioned were Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps, and then the older versions, The Wolfman and Jekyll and Hyde. And I would also recommend Blade and the Lost Boys if you're looking for Halloween stuff. But particularly with the more lunar stuff, or the more two split people type stuff, like the Ginger Snaps thing and the Jennifer's Body, it's repeating back again with that theme of like, it's almost like with this figure looking into the face in the moon and it almost being their own face, but not quite. I don't know whether you can see that very well. It's like when one of you forgets who they are, they look up to the sky and they see their friendship counterpart and they say, oh, I remember me. Which makes me think of another friend. Voice is cracking because quite emotional about this one. I had a friend that I always thought of as, yeah, I'm going to say it. I always thought of them as the embodiment of vivid colour. There was an experience where I first met them and they opened a door inwards, and it was like that bit in The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy opens the door outwards onto Oz and she goes from sepia, black and white, into full colour. It was like this person opened up a door and it's like, oh, and life is vivid now. And it was such a weird sensation. Never experienced anything like it. And there was a patch through illness, crises, all sorts of things kicking off at once in a really big way, where like all of my planetary transits just crunched in on each other for a spell of a few years, where I literally lost memories because of some physiological stuff, but I also forgot my own colour for a while. Even in the way that I expressed, I stopped being colourful, I stopped being spiritual because of like constraints in my immediate environment. I stopped practicing magic. I was like locked out for a bit, partly because I was around young children. Anyway, all of this happened to like make me lose my colour. And the thing that made me regain it, it wasn't even getting back in touch with this friend. It was that I was going out on a walk where I was in really bad headspace, let's just put it that way. The worst I've ever been in. And I looked down a road in a part of town I'm not that familiar with, and I thought I saw this friend getting out of a car. And I don't want to be like mean here. It's not that I forgot they existed, but it's like I'd put them to the back of my mind because it was almost too painful to think about them in the context of everything that had just happened to me. Anyway, so I look down this road and I think I see this person getting out of the car. Too far away for them to really see me, too far away to go and say hello to know whether it ever was them, right? Could have been, might not have been. But again, the colour came flooding back in because I realised through remembering how I was around them and how life was in vivid colour at one point in my life, I just suddenly remembered that I could be colourful. Sorry guys, had a brief interruption from Samsung then. It triggered all sorts of stuff. It triggered my literal memories starting to come back a little bit. I was in a journey of learning to read again, having had sight trouble, and that accelerated. It got me out of the bad headspace I was in on that day, which thankfully probably saved my life. And it also made me start to like remember who I was in terms of expressing differently, dressing differently, starting to begin creative and magical endeavours again, starting to think about how my original plan was to form this channel and speak to you, right? All of that stuff kind of came back with the colour of this person. This is exactly what I'm seeing in this person looking to the moon and the moon staring back. It's like one of you sees the other as, I want to say, living colour, like flooding in, and then vice versa. And it's like when you look, in the same way as when I looked to this possible mirage of this person and went, shit, remember 4 years ago when life was wonderful and everything was bright and how easy that was to get back to? Like, at the same thing, you're looking at reminders of this friend or at the moon at night or whatever it is, and you're going, shit, remember who you are. I'm hearing the bit in The Lion King where Simba looks at his reflection in the water and he hears Mufasa going, remember who you are. And I think that's come through in a reading before, possibly in my A to Zs. So if you got that on your Lucky Dip Pick a Power before, this is double confirmation of that message, right? Because I said that probably over a year ago, but I remember saying it. I think, yeah, you look at this person and you are reminded in some way, whether it's the colour analogy or not, of who it is that you are or who it is that you're meant to be. And by the same token, this friend looks at you and they are reminded of who they are, who they're meant to be. And for both of you, what I'm hearing is who you could be, who you have the potential to be. I think I'm going to leave it there because that's a bloody lovely sentiment to end this on. And really, I think the purpose of this reading, other than to cheer me up after a slightly harsher one earlier, was just to gas you guys up and say, this is an absolutely excellent friendship. You complement each other perfectly. There's this like opposition complementary colour thing going on with you that's really beautiful. If this is a couple and you're like, oh, I don't know, then fucking go for it, because this person is amazing for you and vice versa. But if it's not like that and this is a platonic friendship, make sure that this person knows how you feel about them is what I want to say, because you never know what happens in life, who might move away, who might come in, what might interrupt you being able to tell this person in another way. And I don't mean that to scare you, I mean it just like, I know I get into the habit of going years and years without telling my friends I love them. So tell this friend you love them. If possible, show them this reading, yeah? Boost the channel. But also just know that this is wonderful, that this is absolutely a connection which will always be wonderful. And if you've been looking for like a sanctuary or a safe place, this friendship is that. And I want to say, if you do bond over movies and stuff, maybe go watch some of the movies I talked about. Maybe watch some Godzilla movies. Maybe make some movies. Do whatever it is that you guys do over this Halloween season if you've seen it live, or over whatever season if you've seen it timelessly. And just indulge in each other. Enjoy each other's company. Enjoy how fated this bond is what I want to say. Because I've really enjoyed sitting in the energy of it. So thank you from me as well. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. Spread me around wherever you can. You know the drill. I'm a small channel, I want to get big. Just do what it is that you do. And as a team as well, because if I've got a power couple like you behind me, there's nothing can stop me either. All right, take care.